That's why you see him when he's actually doing his swing. He does a really good like waggle.
Yes.
And he's done what Jonathan just said with the fingers up and the fingers back.
Mhm.
Now he's just kind of going up with the fingers and back with the fingers in this swing.
Right.
Let's talk about that because he's
Perfect.
waggling with a purpose. Imagine like that trail palm's connected to lead thumb knuckle and you got your fingers like straight out away.
Mhm.
Now go up with your fingers and back with your fingers. And that is really like activating what you're going to now connect to that lead thumb and to the side of the handle with. Understand that the golf swing is 90% hands and arms. It used to be like back in the 20s and 30s with Harry Vardon and Henry Cotton and all these guys. They were saying that it was 90% hands and arms. Where did that get lost? Like, why? Why did we lose that? How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Cause and Effect podcast, where we introduce the cause and effect relationships that exist in golf in relation to the hand to handle to face relationships. Episode 34, crappy weather in Michigan again. But we got nice weather coming up at the end of the week, and we're going to teach, and we're going to shoot some content with it. We really want to kind of take you guys like behind the scenes with our lessons. We got some ideas. We got a drone. We got a bunch of cool stuff that we think we could really just provide like a lot of value. Like it'd be really fun, like for you guys to kind of see like how we teach, showing our students kind of going through the same process that you guys are going through, consuming our content and trying to get better. So yeah, we got a fun episode coming up. Finau, Rahm and Finau, the two hottest golfers on the planet right now on the PGA Tour. I mean, Taylor Gooch is still playing out of his mind and back-to-back wins for him. I mean, incredible. But we're going to talk about Finau a lot today. Just a really consistent swing. We're going to walk you through like what we think he does really well and why he's so consistent. And then, yeah, some things you can kind of take away from that. And we got a couple things that we're going to kind of talk about that we're going to introduce like in Claw IQ and with our archive videos that we're going to be launching. And then, yeah, we'll finish it up with some putting, Superstroke Grip, shout out Superstroke, podcast sponsor. And then we actually have a cool like Q&A segment we're going to do. I did some Instagram stories last night, a Q&A, helping people with their grips. And some people asked some good questions that I think would be good content for the pod. Jonathan hasn't seen them yet. So yeah, we're going to answer those and then wrap it up. So let's get into it. Tony Finau playing incredible right now. And he has kind of one thing that really runs his entire golf swing. And we talked about this a little bit last week with Gooch. So what is it? Why is he playing so good? And how can people learn from him?
Sure. It's, I would say, neutral is strong. So the notch here is pointing between his trail ear and his trail shoulder. Okay. So when we look at it from a viewer standpoint, for that grip type, you can see how the club is laying in line with my index pad and like my pinky pad. So it's a little bit more up above that. So in the swing,
at the setup here, like where, like what in terms of like pressure applied to the handle and really like the lead thumb, if the lead hand was on the club, how are you pushing against that lead thumb? And like how much are you do? Like how much extension do you have? Like what do you have in your wrist that's allowing you to push against that lead hand properly or the handle?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the trail hand's going to push in two ways. You're going to take the palm here and you're going to push down against the lead thumb.
Okay.
And then you're going to press that same point with the palm against the side of the lead thumb knuckle.
Got it.
Okay.
So that's like the flexing the fingers, like pulling the fingers back at me.
Yes, it's like
as that.
This, which when we talk about addressing the club properly with claw, being vertical, you're establishing this like hinge in a sense already if we do this properly.
Got it. Got it.
And so from there, it's like this is already established. And then again, you just have to make sure you're pressing against the side of the handle and the lead thumb knuckle, right? With the palm to the index finger.
So like a good thing that people can kind of help visualize this is imagine like that trail palm's connected to lead thumb knuckle and you got your fingers like straight out away. Now go up with your fingers and back with your fingers. And that is really like activating what you're going to now connect to that lead thumb and to the side of the handle with. We see like common problems we see is when people grab the kind of club with the trail hand is that they have like a lot of like fingers down and like the wrist almost like kind of the opposite of where we would want it, where they have actually like flexion where the fingers are this way. So they go here and here and then bring the trail hand on. It's a very weak grip. And it doesn't really apply the pressure needed to actually get the club to do what we need to do. And that's why you see him when he's actually doing his swing. He does a really good like waggle.
Yes.
And because he's done what Jonathan just said with the fingers up and the fingers back. Now he's just kind of going up with the fingers and back with the fingers in this swing.
Right.
Let's talk about that because he's
Perfect.
waggling with a purpose.
So I'm going to make this
Chelsea
really
said that yesterday. I was like,
yeah,
that's
waggle
really
with
good.
a purpose. That's true, because it is really important that you have
Yeah.
a proper waggle, and it should be for every part of your game. We'll get into that sometime, like more in the short game and stuff soon. But
And we've talked
or
about
when we
this before
incorporate a
with
little
like the preset drill, where sometimes like pros just go to like the
For sure.
parallel position,
Yeah.
but Finau's going like a little further back with his waggles. And let's talk about the importance of that people can really take from.
Okay, so when it comes down to the trail hand, I'm just going to go through real quick, like the different movements that it can, like we want as a combination to give us the perfect backswing. Okay, I'm going to go from here and I'm going to go 45 degrees of extension straight back. So that's when we talk about hand extension. That's what it is like the straight back movement from like the wrist here to the fingertips. 'Cause it's like, here's max finger extension, here's max wrist extension. What that does is pins the inner part of my trail elbow in front of my chest. Okay. From there, if I then add the 45 degrees of external like this, now my trail elbow is perfectly pinned in front of my chest, which we want that technically at address for every club in the bag.
Because that's going to allow us to feel like the skipping the rock feeling.
And
like
the reason too that this is important is like when you look at Finau, he basically does this waggle where he kind of just sets the club back and he also hinges it up a little bit more.
So he's blending the fingers up and the fingers back with that little waggle.
Correct.
Got it.
So when we talk about creating your own waggle, okay, the idea is that here's kind of a cool process. Imagine that you get your perfect lead hand grip position on the club, okay? And then with the trail hand, you basically get the process, what we're talking about with the proper pinch for the notch. You get finger and hand extension maxed, and then you get 45 degrees of external rotation. Now you maintain this, you go trail palm to lead thumb knuckle like this. And again, we can be doing this from a vertical standpoint with the club like that. Okay, that's the best way to do it. I'm just doing it in a chair like this so you can see it from this also different angle,
Yes.
okay? So trail palm, lead thumb, and then I'm just going to curl my fingertips so that the like the furthest point towards the club, which is like my trail index pad, you want to get it right in the pad. So it's like right here. You don't want to get it too much up into the palm because that means that we are losing our pinch, and it shouldn't really be too far down into the fingers. That would only be if I did like a extended trigger finger like you'd see with like John Daly, right? Okay, so trail palm, got it. Boom, curl, pinch down, and that's perfect every time. So it's just really, again, solidifying that you're getting the trail palm like properly on there. And again, doing these presets like this and then bringing it on is naturally giving you the angle. So all you have to do is just curl your fingertips like this. Don't lose the formation of the claws and lose the extension, right? It's like if you do this, then all of a sudden the trail arm is not in its proper position to be able to properly, like when you lever and lag and release the club, you're technically levering, lagging, and releasing your trail arm relative to your lead arm.
Got it. So when we talk about like what the hands, how the hands are actually controlling like the club, we're saying that the fingers going up is the club going up relative to the handle.
Like this.
And then the fingers going back is the club going like around the handle, right?
Yeah. So,
or back of the handle.
So back movements and around are slightly different, right?
So we got up, back, and around.
Because back is like fingers straight back like this.
Yes.
Around is fingers like basically taking like your notch, the top of it, and twisting it back like this, 45 degrees of the bottom part.
Yeah.
Right. So you're blending like you already start with this properly. If you do our claw formation, you go 45 degrees down, but then from there, it's like we do a proper amount of back, which is like what we're pushing with in a sense, like it's like that combination of how you connected trail hand, pushing down with radial like this, because we've established it from the formation here, but also to the side. So we're doing both of those with a little twist.
Got it.
Starting off pointing down.
So we're giving it a head start. We're like telling our trail hand, like, hey, you're about to do these 3 things. I'm just going to like pre-activate them and connect to that's why I always think like the most important thing in the golf swing is connecting to the lead thumb knuckle properly. Because if you don't do that, then you don't actually have the ability to do what you need to do in swing. So what would we see typically if somebody didn't connect it right? What would we see in swing now?
So in swing, it's like, here's perfect trail palm up against lead thumb knuckle. And I have a proper pinch where my trail index knuckle here is lower than the tip of my trail thumb.
Got it.
So not like this. So the problem is with most people is they get here. So you can see my trail palm is not on my lead thumb knuckle. And you can see now that like from a viewer standpoint, there's more separation between my claws, my curls. And basically from there, it's like I don't have the security of the club because I don't have my proper notch. So it's like the club is getting more into my palm.
So then what happens like in swing now? Like what is that affecting now?
So again, so if I start off, again, here's the improper. From viewer standpoint, you can see again how I'm like wrapping my claws or like there's no connection in here.
Correct.
So if I slide the palm up, get the proper extension, now you can see everything's nice and tight. Okay.
Got it.
So from there, I can concentrate my pressure better. So when I push and I set back and I pull and twist and everything, right? It's like I have something to do it in a better format with because my fingers are all in their claws like this, not like this.
And so a good way to think about this is that, and we've talked about this before in the podcast, where you almost want to imagine that however well you're pushing and doing all three of these things in swing is going to determine how well the club does what it does, the trail elbow does what it does, and like the trail shoulder, like what is this controlling now?
So by getting, again, more in like the fingertips to a certain extent, right? Opposed to being too much in your palms, this is allowing you to isolate your hand and arm movements in a sense where when you lock in your claws, like we talk about here, straight out and way, right? We go down. Now, the elbows and everything are already isolated because of the isolation of what happens with the claws, okay, to the body. Meaning like everything is like taut, okay? From there, if my grip pressure on a scale from 1 to 10 now is approximately like a 1, okay, we'll say, if I just do this proper movement of pushing, a little bit of back with the around, right? It's like I get to my takeaway. Then I'm just going to keep increasing that. A little bit of increase in push-pull, a little bit of twist, up and back towards trail shoulder. From there, we're going to push back down out, butt end at target line to pre-impact. And then from there, it's the club head can release down, out, and around the handle if the trail arm goes from bent to straight, keeping the trail wrist cupped.
So your hands are always doing something.
This trail hand is always doing something.
Yeah. So when we get to that like wader position at the top, what is that really? Is that
That's
just
a combination
of
basically
all three of these things?
So again, we start off with the notch from the pinch, fingers back,
Got it.
and then the around here really is it. You don't even have to add the up because it's like if I just go back like this is perfectly flat. If I add radial on that angle, I could take my like platter here being kind of neutral, rotate it like this, serve the drinks back here.
More, yeah, right.
but that adds, a little bit more velocity. So then you can get more lag. It's like more club head staying up and back behind the handle.
I like that drill you did the other day when we were teaching, and it was a really good lesson. But I liked how you talked about like the trail hand basically starting like, how did you do that? I can't remember. It was like you did like palm up. You did like your box, right? It was like this.
So
or was it like this?
You can just do palm to palm like this,
you
arm
can do
straight
both,
out
right?
away.
Like,
Yeah, you can definitely.
Yeah.
But for a basic one, you just take your trail hand, like keep your lead hand and arm right where they're at, stationary. Take the trail hand back, like level, parallel, and then there it is. There's the serving the tray, right? Then you can get like even that max like external rotation and like the max radial and bring it on. And then you can see that the angle coming back to the neutral position of the lead hand is slightly under. And it's like you place the palms back. And then from here, lead hand stays stationary. Trail hand goes up and around. And it's like, and this angle is basically what you want to feel like for the pivot point of the release, right? So it's like you basically.
What do you have in your trail wrist right now? Are you like max extension?
This is max external.
But you don't have any like cup in the wrist here, or
so
like,
that's where you could add it here, and then the radial too, right?
Oh, okay.
And then you could do that,
I like
and then
that.
come in. Yep. Or you could just start off neutral here.
Got it.
And then go back flat neutral, and then add like the twist and the radial, and then bring it back. That's like two options.
I got you. So
but it works it out in the same way.
Right. I got you. And then you did. I like this one you did the other day too, where you did like the box, where you almost have like the hand like this, like lead arm, basically like max like internal rotation, and then trail arm max external, and then it was just like boom, boom, and then like rotated like under.
You
but
can
this
go, like,
stayed.
under,
This lead arm stayed like this
because it is your pivot point.
Yeah,
it has to basically, in the swing when you think about it, like the trail hand arm are working around it because the trail arm bends and extends around the lead arm. The lead arm is basically trying to stay as straight as possible throughout the entire swing.
Right. And that's the thing, like you look at Finau and Rob and you're like, okay, we're recommending like a stronger grip. And these guys don't really have like the strongest grip. They got more of like a weaker to neutral grip with the lead hand. But they're just using the trail hand so great that it's like, it's okay. Well, like they're just, like I said, like we always say, like with Spieth, your trail hand can make up for your lack of what your lead hand is doing. And if this is perfect, like it is with Finau, Rahm, Spieth, all these guys, then they don't really have to worry so much about the lead hand. But
the good, I would say this though, other than Spieth, all these guys, if you look at their lead arm at like post impact, everybody's locked with it. Everybody's keeping the trail wrist cupped, going from bent straight with the trail arm from pre impact to post impact. That firing action is like the secret that pros like I
Right.
mean, they all share in common,
Right,
but
right.
like the average amateur doesn't understand
Right.
in a sense, because it does become more of like a 1-2 punch move opposed to this swing that you like idea wise when you watch like Rory. And Rory's doing the same thing actually,
Right.
which is a matter of how the guys finish. And if they have maybe what doesn't look like the most perfect, aesthetically pleasing movement.
So when you did that drill where you're going like back here with the waiter position,
Mhm.
how like connected do you want your trail arm to be? Like we're talking about at the setup, like making sure it's pinned underneath
Yeah.
the lead arm, but like how extended do you want it? Because I see like most common faults we see as coaches is the trail arm just kind of drifts way too much, or we'll see like they're really trying to dramatically like keep the elbow like basically pinned to like the rib cage, and it's
Mhm.
like, whoa, that's like too connected. So it's like what's too connected, what's not enough connected, and like that'll help people.
Sure.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I got my lead hand here,
There you
okay?
go.
And then when I go with my trail hand, it's like I'm going to start off in the neutral position, palm pretty much like level to my thumb. And then from there, if I do my proper up, back, and around, and then place my palm there, it's like my trail arm is already basically bent or pre-bent in 3 ways, right?
Mm.
Because of activating this
Mm.
when I place on the club. If I go like this, my trail arm is in a neutral position. The elbow's pointing at you.
Oh.
And then that will cause me to be steeper, make it harder for me to, I'd have to, like in a sense, manufacture the increase of external and
Nobody's
everything
doing
throughout
that.
the swing,
Yeah.
which is,
Good luck with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely more
If
timing
you're
involved there.
starting like that, you're staying like
Yeah,
that more
it's
than
like
likely.
pre-activate the movements we need for the backswing in your grip properly, like this. So it's like then when I place my trail hand on the club, it's like my trail arm is already perfect because of the lead hand arm being more like internally rotated like this.
a
You can
wall.
see my lead elbow is pointing like more down the line, even if I was staying up like kind of a little bit to right field because I'm a right hand golfer.
Uh-huh.
So it's like if I match my palm to lead thumb, now my V's are both pointing in the correct direction. And this right here has both V's pointing towards my trail shoulder.
Now when you go back, what happens?
So from here, I'm just going to gradually increase
All 3
my
of those
push
things.
pressure, my twist pressure, and my back. Okay. So
Got
it's
it.
like this.
Got it.
Right.
And then like, so at this position right here, the trail arm is pretty straight.
So in the real swing, you really want to feel like it's extended straight, like to the
To get the width.
takeaway position. Your trail arm should feel like it's literally locked because
Oh.
you already like start off with these rotations, this back,
So
this
it's already
around.
pinned.
And by the time you get to the takeaway, you have achieved 45 degrees of external rotation in the trail hand and arm, and you have 45 degrees of wrist extension with the trail hand arm, right?
So you got the car onto the
It's
onto
like,
the
yeah,
road
exactly.
now.
From now it's basically we
Now keep it
consistently
on the
keep
road.
doing the back and the around, and we add a little bit more gradual pull. So it's like when we get to your half backswing, when your lead arm's parallel to the ground, you should be at approximately 90 degrees with the angle between the lead arm and the shaft.
So if we see something happen that's not good,
Mhm.
where the student is like kind of that elbow gets a little bit too close
Yeah.
or maybe too far away, then something's been sacrificed in the pushing
There's already a
department or
problem.
the pulling department.
And then,
Yeah, because you could get the takeaway perfect, but then transition improperly,
right.
which is kind of uncommon. But yeah,
But that's the whole idea of like what we're trying to do here at Claw 2 is understand that if you activate your grip properly with the process that we have, it's like from there, you just gradually increase these movements as you go back so that you can properly lever the golf club. Right, we'll say this. You can properly get like the hand to handle to face relationship properly with levering like your claws, levering the handle and the club head back. Now from here, we have a chance to be able to lag them and release them. But if your lever isn't right, then your lag's going to, suffer or struggle, and then the release will as well.
right.
So it's like a 3-piece process there.
Got
You
it.
have to get your lever right. And again, it all starts with putting your levers,
Gotta get it
the
right.
leverers,
Yeah, right.
like on the club
Clamp
properly
'em.
so that they can do their job and get the handle and the club head doing what they need to.
Yeah.
And then from there, we can lag them again and release them because when it comes to lag, you're just, again, increasing the movements of like external, the back, and like
Up, back,
the
and
up.
around.
And then it's like, and then you're just driving the base of that. And then from there, if the trail arm goes from bent straight, keeping trail wrist cupped here from pre to post impact, you get a perfect release of that.
Yeah.
Just how the anatomy of the body and the club
And
work.
this is why you see pros when they're so meticulous with getting their hands on the grip properly. It's because they know the importance of like, okay, hey, I know I'm going to get the up, the back, and the around
Mm-hmm.
in the backswing. So I might as well get it like right here, like clamped on right to begin with, so that they can actually like pre-activate what they're going to use.
In a
But
sense,
most amateurs just skip over this. And honestly, like coaches, they're just really like kind of breezing over this. Like, oh yeah, get your hands like aligned properly with the V's. But it's like, okay, if you don't have an awareness of like what you're pre-activating, then you don't really have an awareness of what you're actually going to use in swing to control the levering, lagging, and releasing. And that's where, like with this claw IQ that we're going to be doing, like it's literally like a science of like how to grip the golf club. Like it has to be like this, because the only way that you're going to consistently get the proper lever, lag, and release is by activating and getting these pressure points like pushed against the club properly. That's why we talked about last week with grip pressure, because if you're gripping it too tight, even if you've got like the proper alignment and you feel like you got the claws, but you're at a 10, now you're immobile and you can't really like utilize them properly. So there's a science of pressure. There's a science of alignment. There's a science of forearms, of like lead arm on top, trail arm under.
Formation
like
of the claws in the swing triangle.
Exactly.
So it's like you got to be able to have that first and then understand then the, process around it, which again, though, it's not a lot of stuff. It's very basic. The root cause to everything is the same in a general standpoint. It's just the initial formation of the lead hand and arm, in-trail hand and arm for the 3 different grip types. But
exactly.
That's,
then again, with the trail arm staying connected to the body and things like that, is more the effect of getting the proper like trail wrist movements. Because if the trail hand's not doing what it's supposed to be doing, then obviously your trail
elbow is going to be suffering as well.
It's going to be all over the place.
Right.
So if you're struggling with like, oh, I don't know if my trail elbow is staying like connected enough, it's like, well, if you just kind of look back to the root of the problem, it's probably right there in how you're connecting your trail palm to your lead thumb knuckle. So
very true.
Yeah, fix it there. And that's like, wouldn't you want to try to fix something that you have control over, that you haven't even like taken the club back, that you could literally like have a club like this and be like sitting on your couch at home perfecting? Like, what if I told you that you could practice your grip at home, sitting on your couch, and then go to the course the next day and have your swing improved without even hitting a golf ball, just by pre-activating all these things properly against the grip? And that's why we created this compact club, because it's like hand to handle to face. Before, the face was too far away, so we brought it closer. And now with the claw ball, with that training aid, wait till you see what we're going to do with that. The face is going to be in your claws. And the hand to handle to face relationship is right here. So that's why we like the compact club. So yeah, go buy one of these. Everything's linked in the bottom. But it's just, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not working on your grip at least, I'd say 30, 40 minutes a day. Ben Hogan said you should work on it 23 minutes a day. Your grip.
Right. I mean, that's to become a level of that stature in a sense, like is from what he's really saying. But in general, though, it should be like a big thing.
There's no excuse.
The biggest thing is if you follow our process and do it for long enough, it does become more second nature, because the process is not as complicated as it's ever been in golf. Because back in Hogan's days, like, I mean, there was no science out about, real great science. I mean, we have the science.
Yeah, but yeah, there's no excuse. Like,
well, I know. It's just, you got to spend the time if you want to get the
and
reward.
you want to understand like the true benefits of getting the proper grip, then go through a process that we're going to kind of create with Claw IQ, and see how just getting your hands connected to the club properly will fix like 10 things in your golf swing. It's like the 10 for 1 special, like we talk about. So yeah, stay tuned for all that. Because we're just getting started. Like, this podcast is just us kind of venting and just like, this is it. Like, stop making golf more complicated than it needs to be.
Exactly.
Like, stop breezing over getting the grip and then wondering why, like, oh, my trail elbow won't stay connected to my body. It's like, yeah, well, your trail hand's not connected to your lead thumb knuckle properly, so your trail elbow is not pinned under your lead arm to begin with, to even give you the ability to keep your trail arm connected to your body. So it's like, stop worrying about all these things in swing and just fix your grip.
If you're wondering, if you're wondering, just again, yes, like simply, what can you do to improve your golf game? It's like you have to just make sure that you're getting, like, you understand the importance of like the lead hand and arm around the club. That's like the pivot point of the swing, the foundation of your move. Then from there, you place the trail hand arm onto that lead hand and arm, in a sense, and the club. And then from there, we can then get the whole unit together as one to work properly. So we can lever, lag, and release the club head around our claws in functional unit. So it's like, that's really it. Simple. And
the same thing applies for putting. Like, I think we should get right into putting now.
Yeah.
Is you're trying to lever, lag, and release the putter as well. And we're trying to like push against it in a certain way and get the proper wrist extension, like your trail wrist you're getting like the same kind of feeling with the boom, boom, and boom. It's just when you putt, you're more like down like this,
Like
opposed to
this.
like a full swing, we're more like that, I would say. But that's really it though. It's the same exact process.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
pushing against the handle a lot.
I'm just
You look
pushing
at
more
like
on the sides like
Finau,
this.
like let's talk about him a little bit. His
hmm
putting's like,
Okay.
but he's like low with his hands,
Yes. So
just
it's
like
like
his full
instead of being
swing.
like max ulnar down like this, he's basically going to be a little bit more neutral like that.
Yeah, almost like radial.
Right.
And
And
he's like really close to his body with his
it's like
hands.
keeping the underparts though of your like your claws and your alligator arms like activated like this, like under like this pushing opposed to just downward like stretching,
Yeah, he
right?
said he imagines he's like rocking a baby. And you
Right,
mentioned that before.
because well, when you
It's
think
like,
about the like the actual blade of your putter, it's like if you imagine it rocking like this, it's like a cradle. It ain't you're not moving it around. It's so stable and it's on an arc that's consistent every time back and through.
yeah, if he now knows something about cradling a baby because he's got a lot of kids.
No doubt.
What you're saying. So you're trying to just, that's the pendulum, right?
Right.
That's like what we talk about with like the pivot point. It's like you got like the pivot point of the cradle. Like you're not trying to like move your elbows all over because then that baby's like probably gonna
Or
fall out or something.
the club is the baby.
Yeah, right.
You know, in a sense. So
Yes,
it's like,
exactly.
yeah, you just want to basically keep it all consistent. And that's when you see like a lot of golfers, I mean, you'll see either max ulnar down or just a little bit less of max ulnar down. But the key thing though is that they're pushing like the under part of their alligator arms
Yes.
is stretched a little bit. It's like taut. And then again, it doesn't have to be like a 10 pressure. It's like we get that a setup to mold it.
Yeah.
Then we release it to like a 1, but it's already in formation. So it's like, then just keep it. And FYI, when you do get this right, if you're following this process with putting on the golf course, once you get your mold right, just like you take your practice stroke, don't reset or anything. Keep the mold perfect, step right up, do your move, hit it. It's because it's honestly like it's
If
too
you
much time.
reset, it's
Like
like,
once you get the
oh.
perfect mold though, it's like it's in there. Now we're ready. You got the perfect putter.
We see that all the
connection.
time, like with our students. We'll like mold them. We'll
Yep.
spend like 20 minutes molding them,
Wow.
and then like they break it down. It's like, wait, why did you just break that? We just spent like 20 minutes molding that
You
like
gotta
to
get
perfection.
You got to get
But
the start point of
yeah.
like, you know, the thing with the full club, straight up and down out in front of you. Basically, the putter grip's going to be straight out in front of you when you connect to it. We have
But Finau's controlling the heel of the putter, right? Like that's a big thing that you look at, like Fitzpatrick, you look at kind of like all these guys. I mean, it's so funny. Like Fitzpatrick's so much more like vertical, and Finau's like this with his putter.
Well, again,
but they're all controlling right here, this like central spot, this heel, right?
so if we again look at like max ulnar down,
Yes.
like we'll say like pointer
Like
fingers pointing
Fitzpatrick.
down like this,
Yep.
then if we had a club head on the putter, it's like this. It's like they're going to have the toe actually pointing down like this. So the handle's more
Like
vertical. That's
Stricker.
what he's talking about. Right.
Yeah.
So then when they go back and through, they control the stroke with more of max ulnar down. So it's like more in their pointer fingers.
Got it.
Right. But when we look at Finau, we can see that he doesn't have full max ulnar. It's like a little bit, again, off. It's more like fingertips straight to the ground, but he does have the alligator elbows. Okay.
Yeah.
So from there, he basically just controls, again, the putter more with the underparts, like the
Got it.
bottom parts of his like alligator
And he's
arms,
got
like
some
his
big
bottom two
mitts.
fingers. Right.
He's got
so
big
which is fine
hands.
as long as you keep the connection and everything. I mean, to be honest, like technically it concentrates the pressure in between the elbows more. So because he's such a like tall dude,
Yeah.
it probably helps him to keep more connected that way than if he was into more ulnar. It might be really tough for him because he's so
Yeah.
tall.
Right, exactly. In like long arms.
Yeah.
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 That's why it's like hard for me. I got really long arms, and it's like super weird for me to get like max alligator arm like
Oh
Fitzpatrick.
no, I'm like, I got a 33-inch putter and I'm like way over it.
Yeah, you're over it for sure. But yeah, it's interesting how these guys all are like applying the pressure the same way. It's
Right.
just like these little alterations. So yeah, we got some good questions with the other day, and we'll just jump right into the Q&A now. And we've actually kind of touched on this a little bit right now, but it was really cool to see the questions we're getting. They're really good questions. Like it's the kind of questions that we would like be proud to like have people asking. It's like, oh wow, people are like starting to understand this.
Yeah, right.
And the one guy asked, how does like the internal and external rotation of the arms affect like how you're gripping the club?
Mhm.
And what are the most common things that we see like people mess up? And we kind of alluded to it earlier, but it's really just more of like that kind of like wall sensation, right?
Well,
Where it's like you want to create that wall for that like lead out? Like how would you describe
But
it?
here's a simple way to
Like,
understand. When
yeah,
you just
yeah.
talk about hand arm rotations, so it's like with the lead hand arm, you have internal rotation like this,
Clockwise, yep.
approximately like 20, 30 degrees, and then you put it on the club with the lead hand like this, okay? With the trail hand, same thing, but you're an external. So the way that we talk
Clockwise
about to make
rotation
it
with both.
simple is to just think of clockwise because they're both working in that same direction
Correct.
instead of having to think of internal lead,
Yeah.
external trail. However you want to do it, doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But the point is that those are the rotations. So it's like the rotations help us with the placement of our claws on the club. We know that, again, starting off with the up, right? And then also like, in a sense, like the max finger and hand extension will then also be an additive. But when it comes down to just the rotations, that's it.
Got it.
So 20, 25 degrees of internal, external, or clockwise, that's it.
And if you don't have that 20 to 25 degrees, then you're going to be too on top of the club.
You're going to be too more
And
neutral.
then, like we said, that trail arm is going to be too on top.
Right.
And then you're going to have a hard time controlling the trail wrist in the trail elbow in the backswing, which is then going to affect the plane and everything else.
Well, and this weaker position will not allow you, if you're trying to twist open in the backswing, that will not work for you because you will tend to hit the ball right.
And then, okay, perfect. That makes sense. Cool. Hopefully that answered that guy's question. But that's a simple way to think about it, though, is that you always want to kind of feel like because everybody, when you think of like grabbing this handle, it's like, oh, okay, I'm just going to like grab it and just like hands on top. It's like, no, you got to get on the side of the cylinder or the grip. So, cool. And then another guy said he has a hard time with when he takes the club back, he's got a strong grip, but right before he takes the club back, he does like a lot of re-gripping. And like, why do you think that is? And he's got a strong grip. So he said when he takes the club back, he said he's re-gripping like as he's taking the club back. Why do you think that is?
My guess is that his trail palm is not connected to his lead thumb.
Oh.
I think it's probably too down because typically people have a lot of re-gripping problems with the trail hand when this placement is not secure because they're trying to find something secure to press against. And typically it's down here around like the fingertip of the lead thumb. But when you get the trail palm up high enough on the lead thumb knuckle like this, because it shortens up the fingers on the club, gets your pinch proper. Now from there, it's like,
unified.
It feels like you have this like controlled, like a solid functional unit. I mean, but it's like a one unit thing.
Correct.
Like this isn't just trying to find its own placement. It's like, oh, now we're connected. It's like the two became one because, I mean, it really does unify your hands on the handle.
And it also unifies like your arms to your body.
It isolates because of the notch. The notch, when you create the claw notch, literally you can feel all the tendons and ligaments in your arms up to your shoulders isolated.
Correct.
So it's like, that's really important. But I'm guessing that's to answer your question.
That's what the question.
I really believe that he's probably too far down. So check that out because you're trying to, again, create some type of connection or feeling of like unifying the hands to the club. And that's where the search is.
I like that. That makes a lot of sense. Cool. Couple questions. We're going to keep doing Q&As like this because I think it's cool just to kind of get like, just a little kind of behind the scenes of the questions that we get and helping you out more because we like doing the podcast. This is fun, but we can't wait. Like once the warmer weather gets here and it's coming, we're going to be outside. We're going to be really pushing out a lot of content.
Right.
Like we said, we're just getting started. Like if you haven't kind of seen any of our other content, go watch the Qualified series, get an understanding of how to get the claws perfect. We have 32 other podcasts or 33 other podcasts. Go watch them, go listen to them. And really buy into this because this is the future of like where golf instruction is going.
Totally.
Like golf instruction is broken right now. We're fixing it with the hand to handle the face relationship.
Yep.
So everything's linked in the bottom. Go check out all of our sponsors.
Yes.
Go check out all the people supporting us. Super Stroke, Lagshot, we love. iRange Sports, really love their alternatives to tripods, like we said. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.